Yukio Seki was a Japanese naval aviator of the Imperial Japanese Navy during World War II. As a kamikaze pilot, Lieutenant Seki led one of the three fighter groups of the second official kamikaze attack in World War II. Seki's final action took place on October 25, 1944, during the Battle of Leyte Gulf. He led a unit of 5 bomb-armed Mitsubishi Zero fighters, crash-diving the planes deliberately into street low, being the first kamikazes to sink an enemy ship. Early life. Yukio Seki was born 1921 in Iwao-Seijo, a small town in Shikoku. His parents ran an antique store specializing in tea ceremony utensils. At an early age, Seki was exposed to naval training courses at his middle school and planned a career in the Navy. Since naval personnel were fully prepared to die in battle, and since Yukio was an only child, the family adopted a daughter nearly Yukio's age to carry on the family affairs. In 1938 he tried to get to the War Academy of both the Imperial Navy and the Ground Forces. He was accepted to both of them and he chose Navy, attending the Japanese Naval Academy at Itajima. During this time his father died and his mother closed the antiques shop and lived alone. In 1941, 1 month before the Pearl Harbor attack, Seki graduated and was ordered to the battleship Fuso. In June of the same year he was promoted to lieutenant. Soon he was transferred to the seaplane carrier Chitose. Service in World War II. Seki saw several naval actions, and participated in a minor role in the Battle of Midway as his ship, Chitose, belonged to the second wave of Japanese ships. In 1942 Seki returned to Japan and enrolled in the Naval Flying Academy and Kasumagara Ibaraki. After basic training he was transferred to USA Oita to be trained as a dive bomber operating from carriers. In January 1944 he became instructor in Kasumagara. Seki became friends with the Watanabe family living in Kamakura and fell in love with the daughter Mariko. Once when he was out drinking with his colleagues, one of them suggested that all of them should get married on the same day. They all agreed. The same weekend Seki went to Kamakura and proposed to Mariko while her mother was present. Mariko accepted the proposal and they were married May 31, 1944. Seki's mother Seki was the only relative from his side to take part in the wedding. After the wedding she lived with the young couple for a month and then left, saying, "Young couples need some time alone." Soon after they moved into a house close to the Flying Academy. In September 1944 Seki was transferred to Tainan, a city in Taiwan. He had to leave his wife behind because Tainan was not safe enough for them to go together. Mariko followed Seki to Yokohama to say goodbye to him. 3 weeks after he had arrived in Tainan he was transferred again, this time to the 201st Flotilla in Philippines as leader of 301st Fighter Unit. The base was originally in Nicolas but was later moved to Mabalacat away from increasing attacks by the Americans. During this time Vice Admiral Takejiro Onishi had been making plans for the first kamikaze attack, and Lieutenant Seki was given the opportunity by Group Commander Asaki Tomai to lead a special attack squadron that would end in the loss of his own life. Seki is said to have closed his eyes, lowered his head and thought for 10 seconds, before saying to Tomai, "Please do appoint me to the post." Seki thereby became the leader of the squadron Shikishima, which conducted the first official kamikaze attack, and the first to sink an enemy ship. 4 times his group returned to base in aborted sorties. The kamikaze attack on Taffy 3 on October 25, 1944, LT. Seki's squadron of 5 kamikaze A6M2 Model 21 Zeros, each carrying a 250 kg bomb, took off with an escort of 4 A6M5s flown by legendary ace Hiroyoshi Nishizawa, Misao Oshigawa, Shingo Honda and Ryoji Baba. The target was Vice Admiral Clifton Sprague's Taffy 3 task force during the desperate defense of the landings in the Battle of Leyte Gulf. At 10:50, Seki's squadron made their attack on 4 escort carriers of Taffy 3's White Plains. 2 planes attack. AA Fire scored a hit on one attacker who changed course for St. Lo. The second plane was destroyed by AA Fire just yards astern of White Plains. No hit on White Plains, but debris was scattered on the aft deck, causing 11 minor injuries. Kalinan Bay, 4 diving planes attack from astern. 2 planes are splashed by AA Fire. 2 hits by the others. One crashes into the port side of the flight deck, damaging it badly. The other hits the aft port stack, destroying it. Kitkan Bay, port catwalk clipped. An aircraft explodes off the port side, causing 1 death and no significant damage. St. Lo, the plane which veered off from White Plains approaches St. Lo, and her action report states, approaching the ramp at very high speed. The Zeke-52 crossed over the aft end of the ship at less than 50 feet. He appeared to push over sufficiently to hit the deck at about the number 5 wire, 15 feet to the port side of the center line. A tremendous crash quickly followed by an explosion as one or both of the enemy's bombs exploded. The aircraft continued up the deck, leaving fragments strewed about, and its remnants went over the bow. At first, the damage appeared minor. There was a hole in the flight deck with smoldering edges which sprang into flame. Hoses were immediately run out from both sides of the flight deck and water started on the fire. Smoke soon appeared on both sides of the ship, evidently coming from the hangar. Within 1 to 1.5 minutes an explosion occurred on the hangar deck, which puffed smoke and flame through the hole in the deck and bulged the flight deck near and aft of the hull. This was followed in a matter of seconds by a much more violent explosion, which rolled back a part of the flight deck, bursting through aft of the original hull. The next heavy explosion tore out more of the flight deck and also blew the forward elevator out of its shaft. The magazine had detonated, and St. Lo was gone in half an hour. According to the U.S. Navy reports, there were no other kamikaze hits on U.S. ships that day, although there was a suicide near miss on the Kitkan Bay which was destroyed by a fire from the Kitkan Bay. Since this was at 11:20, nearly 1/2 hour late after Seki's attack, and because all 5 of Seki's kamikazes were apparently expended, and because the attacking plane was a non-kamikaze type Yokosuka D-4Y dive bomber, it is unlikely this was a member of Seki's group. Controversies. It is debated whether Seki's plane sank the St. Lo. Nishizawa survived the attack and made his report stating that Seki's plane glanced off the deck of a carrier but that the bomb did not explode. His description on this point closely matches the attack on St. Lo as reported by her captain. A second plane did score a hit on the same carrier that Seki attacked, and the plane's bomb did explode. The only carrier with 2 hits was the Kalinan Bay. However, the description is sharply different, since there was an immediate visibly large explosion following the first hit on the Kalinan Bay, and no portions of the plane were seen to go over the bow. Nishizawa's description of Seki's hit most closely matches that on the St. Lo. A posting on an earlier St. Lo survivor site showed a photo purported to be of the engine serial number plate of the plane which sank the ship, found on the deck by a sailor about to abandon ship. It was stated that the serial number was later traced back through Japanese authorities to the plane and the pilot who flew it that day, Lt. Seki. Prior to Seki's mission, Masashi Onoda, a Dome War correspondent, interviewed Yukio Seki and quotes him disparaging suicide attacks. Japan's future is bleak if it is forced to kill one of its best pilots. I am not going on this mission for the Emperor or for the Empire. I am going because I was ordered to. In this interview, he gives insight into his thinking on how the carrier force should be attacked. If they would let me, I could drop a 500-kilogram bomb on the flight deck of a carrier without going in for body crashing and still make my way back. During his flight, his commanders heard him say, "It is better to die, rather than to live as a coward." Whichever pilot actually sank the Saint, loaded so by releasing his bomb onto the flight deck just as Seki described to the reporter, instead of crashing his plane directly onto the deck. The reports of the attack are consistent with that of a pilot who intended to return to base after successfully sinking the Saint. Low.